Hey guys, Lazy Man here. Hey, today we're going to be taking a look at another Thermalright CPU cooler. However, this is their high-end Silver Arrow. And this one actually will work with the Intel socket 1366, 1156, 775, and the AMD AM2 and AM3 sockets. So anyway, it was pretty awesome that Thermalright sent this to me for review. So what we're going to do today, we'll do a quick box opening. I'm not much into box openings, but we'll show you what's in there. We'll go through a little quick overview of it, and then we're going to run some tests with this. And I thought it would only be right to compare this with another high-end cooler. And we're going to compare this with the Noctua NH-D14. And we all know that this cooler here, well, maybe we all don't know, but I'll tell you, the Noctua NH-D14 is probably one of the best, if not the best, air cooler on the market. So it's going to be nice to compare that to the Thermalright and see how this thing fares against what we know is a very solid air cooler. So anyway, let me go ahead and get set up, and we'll take a look at the what's in the box. Alright guys, the first thing we notice right off the bat is that it does come in a plain brown box. It does have the name of the cooler on the side and the sockets that it accommodates. But other than that, there is no other literature on the outside of the box. In a way that's a good thing because it does help save on cost. But the downside of that is that without the specifications, it would be hard to know if this would fit in your case, and what accessories that come with it. So anyway, I don't know if Thermalright, if they start marketing these, if they even market it in stores, but if they do, if they put a sleeve over this that has some of the specifications. But anyway, let's go ahead and take a look inside and see what comes with it. Alright, another thing that's worth noting is that this box does not come sealed. And for me, that's not a big deal, as long as everything's in the box. And when you open it up, the first thing you're going to get is the Thermalright sticker. Then you're going to get a sheet here showing the quantities of the items that should be in the box. Then you're going to have the AMD installation guide. And then you're going to have the Intel installation guide. And then as you can see inside the box here, there's a massive cooler. You can see it's well packed within foam. It comes with the 240mm fans and then an accessory box. So anyway, let me go ahead and pull this bad boy out and we'll get a closer look. Alright guys, there's everything that comes with this cooler. And we'll go ahead and start off with this heatsink. And as you can see, this is one heavy, massive cooler here. Well, there's no joke about this cooler. Anyway, one thing I did notice is it doesn't provide the specifications in the box. So I went ahead and got that information so I can share it with you. First of all, it's 160 millimeters tall. It's 147 millimeters wide and 123 millimeters deep. And this thing weighs 825 grams without the fans. And as you can see, there's 4 8mm copper heat pipes. There's a copper base plate here at the bottom, and both of these have been nickel plated. Also, the spacing between the two heat sinks is 39 millimeters, which may be good for some who choose not to use the stock fans that come with them. You could actually install a 38 millimeter thick fan in there. Also, there's 55 heat sink plates here. And I believe these are spaced every 3 millimeters. And another thing that's worth noting, and I'll get a close-up picture of this, as you can see, well, first let's start here. There's 4 pedals on either side of the each heatsink, which is a total of 8 pedals. And now these are bent in a different direction. And what this does, according to Thermalright, this will help reduce the airflow restriction and allow faster airflow through the heatsink. So I'm real curious to see how this is going to perform. So anyway, moving on with the fans here. Now these are the TR-TY 140 millimeter fans. And I gotta say that Thermalright did this right. I mean, including 2 of these fans with this heatsink, I mean, these are excellent fans. I don't think anybody would need to replace these with this heatsink. You know, they may not be the most desirable color, you know, but if you're looking for performance, you know, there's not too many fans that can beat these. Now I'll give you the specifications on these. They're 153 millimeters by 140 millimeters by 26.5 millimeters thick. And the mounting holes are spaced 120 millimeters. Now the RPMs for this range between 900 and 1300 RPMs, 56 to 73 CFM, and 19 to 21 dBA. Now the bearing in here is an enhanced hyperflow bearing, and I've used these fans, and I've got to say, you know, maybe they don't put out a lot of RPMs, but they are super quiet. I mean, at 19 to 21 dBA with 73 CFM, you know, they work really good. When you compare or you match them up with a heatsink that only needs, you know, low RPM fans to keep your cooler or keep your processor cool, you can't beat these fans. Also, what comes with this are the 420 millimeter fan clips. And again, these are 120 millimeter because of the spacing on these fans. So if you do change these out and you go with a 140 millimeter standard fan, these fan clips aren't going to fit. So keep that in mind. It also comes with the anchoring mount for the Intel sockets. Also has the back plate, and again, this is adjustable depending what socket you're using, whether it be 1366, 1156, or 775. Then it also comes with the backplate cap for the 775 socket, the Thermalright thermal compound. This is the Chill Factor 3, and we're going to see how this performs. What we're going to do is when we run tests here, we're going to use the provided thermal paste for each heatsink, and we'll use this for the Silver Arrow, and then for the Noctua we'll use the thermal compound that came with that. Also, they give you what I'm going to call our male and female screws. There's 4 of those. There's 4 thumb screws or cap screws, 4 anti-vibration rubber washers, and then something you only find with the Thermalright heat sinks is this. What do they call this? This is called the pressure vault mounting plate. And what this does is this not only mounts the cooler, you know, down to the retention plate, but by adjusting this screw here, it will either give you 40 pounds of pressure all the way up to 70 pounds of pressure. And what you want to do is go ahead and mount this down, and go ahead and loosen this up all the way first. Screw these down all the way, and then hand tighten this, and that'll give you 40 pounds of pressure. And then with the provided wrench, you can go ahead and screw this down even more, and once you screwed it down all the way, you'll get 70 pounds of pressure. And one thing to note is once you put this on, you want to go ahead and, you know, screw this down to whatever desired pressure you want before you put a fan in, because if you mount this fan, you're not going to have access to the to this nut here. Also, it comes with the AMD hardware, you know, the retention plate, the mounting bracket, and the provided screws. Alright guys, let's go ahead and wrap this up and get down to the testing and see how this thing performs. Alright guys, before we actually do a temperature comparison, I thought it would be only appropriate to actually do a physical comparison. And as you guys remember, the Thermalright has 4 8mm heat pipes, whereas the Noctua has 6 6mm heat pipes. Thermalright comes with 2 140mm fans, whereas the Noctua comes with 140mm and 120mm fan. Also worth noting, again, I made a mistake and I want to correct myself. The spacing of the heat plate or the heat sink plates here are 1.6 millimeter. I don't know where I got 3 millimeter. And again, there's 55 of them, whereas on the Noctua, now these are spaced, again, I'm just estimating, you know, I have my little ruler here, I went out and pulled it out, and I believe these are 2 millimeters, and there's only 42 of the heat sink plates. So the Thermalright does have more surface area as far as how many plates they have. And you can see the Noctua is a little bit wider for the heat sinks, whereas the Thermalright is, you know, just a little bit narrower. With the pedals here, you know, that stick out, they're going to be pretty close. And here I can just give you a real quick measurement. These are about 43 millimeters, and these are 50 millimeters. So these are wider, but there's less of them, and these are narrower, of course, with more of them. See what else is worth noting here. They're about the same height, as you can see. The Noctua, I think, is just a little bit higher. And again, I don't have the specifications handy, but we can just see that it is just a little bit higher here. And as far as depth, I'm going to set these up like this. The Noctua is a little bit wider or deeper. Now I don't know with this gap in between here if that's a good thing, and you can see how much tighter it is. You couldn't put a 38 millimeter fan in here, but with this spacing on the Thermalright you could. With the 120 millimeter, with only this being 26.5 millimeters thick, you know, I don't know if that's going to be good or bad for it. But what we need to do now is that we've looked at both of these, we've compared them. We need to go ahead and run some temp tests. Now I know, you know, everyone says that the Noctua has ugly fans, and you know, they are not the most attractive fans, and I have to agree with that. Thermalright kind of went similar with that, and they're not very attractive, but if I had to compare which one I like better, the Thermalright fans for some reason just look a lot better than the Noctua fans. So again, we're here to look at the performance, not, you know, how ugly it looks or how beautiful it looks. You know, these are high-end CPU coolers. The ones that are going to use this are looking for performance. They're not looking to, you know, beautify their case. But you know, I got to say the Thermalright Silver Arrow here, I like the way it looks. Not only does it look impressive, I like the colors, to be honest. So anyway, enough of me rambling on. Let's get down to the temp test and see which one is better, or which one actually is king. Oh, the last thing I forgot to mention is with the Thermalright Silver Arrow, you do get a small Chill Factor 3 thermal compound. And with the Noctua, you know, they give you the NTH1 thermal paste, and I don't know which one has more in it. You tell me. But that's a minor setback. I mean, thermal paste, I mean, you know, the most expensive thermal paste is like 15 bucks. You know, you can get it around for $6, $7 for most of them. But so I don't think that's a big deal. One thing to be noted is that I did look up the prices of these, and the Thermalright Silver Arrow retails for $79.95, and you can actually find this one at Crazy PC for $74.99. Now the Noctua NHD14, the best I could find was $85. And I believe that was at Newegg, but most places it's about $89. So, you know, that's anywhere from a $5 to a $10 difference in price. So, of course, that really doesn't matter unless the Thermalright can outperform the Noctua. So let's get on with business. Alright, to make the test as fair as possible, I am using a bench setup, and the specs are here. The ambient temperature in my house during the test was a constant 24 degrees Celsius. And as you can see, I will be running 4 tests. The first one will be at stock speeds at idle. Then on the second test, I will be running both coolers with 100% load at stock speeds. Then I will overclock the CPU to 4.0 and will run both coolers at idle. And finally, I will put 100% load at 4.0 and compare those temps. I will be using Prime 95, running small FFTs. Then I will take the temps of the 4 cores and average them out, and we'll compare those. Also, I did take a screenshot of each test, which you will see, and at the end I will finally show a column graph. So now let's see who has the best temps. So there you have it, guys. I guess Noctua has to relinquish its top dog honors and hand it over to Thermalright. Even though it was a very close race, Thermalright did have lower temps. Maybe only by a degree or 2 Celsius, but it was still lower. So with the new design of the heatsink plates being bent in different directions, it seems to have helped Thermalright gain top honors once again. One of the other things that may have helped was the mounting system. Being able to increase the pressure on the CPU up to 70 pounds was an added bonus. You know, probably one of the better mounting systems I have ever used. Now, as you all saw, adding a third fan only helped the temps by a very small margin. So with space limitations, it probably isn't worth the hassle. Now, the Thermalright Silver Arrow can be mounted with the fans blowing out the back of the case or with the fans blowing out the top. However, if you do mount the cooler blowing up and out the case, it will block the first RAM module unless you have short heat sinks. But if you mount it blowing out the side, it will clear your RAM modules even if they have extended heat sinks. So anyway, I would like to thank Thermalright for sending me this product for review, and would especially like to thank you for watching this very long video. Till next time. This is LazyMan.